Canadian pattern 1908 reproduction webbing set. This was designed specifically for the Ross M1905 Mark II rifle. That rifle, when it was first issued, did not have a charger guide, so you couldn't use the chargers on it. You had to use individual rounds. The right pocket and the left pocket, they're identical, just mirror images of each other. The bottoms were a bellows type. A special loom actually made them. Unfortunately, that loom no longer exists. They would actually hold two 10-round paper-wrapped packages of 303 British ammunition. The top had 5, again, specially woven loops to hold individual rounds. And also it would hold one package of 10 303 ammunition. The canteen is actually the earlier version of the canteen carrier. You can't see it here, but you'll see it later. There's an extra long piece of 1-inch webbing. That was actually so you can mount it to the haversack. The backpack was exactly the same as the P08 webbing, or the British webbing set. There was no difference with them. Now, on the left-hand side is a haversack. This is the earlier version of the P08 haversacks. They have a loop here, and there's a twig buckle over here. You'll see how the canteen carrier gets mounted on it. And here you have a Ross bayonet slid into the lower section of the scabbard, and that will be explained a little bit later. The haversack can be mounted on the back as per normal with the canteen, and you can see some of the images following this video. What we have here is the left-hand cartridge carrier. The right-hand side is a mirror image of this. You have 3 bellows pockets on the bottom and a flat rectangular one at the top. Each bottom one will hold 2 10-round packets of ammunition. Now I just kind of whip these up. They're not official. Like so. The top rectangular pocket opens up like that, has 5 individual rounds in loops, and would also hold just 1 10-round packet. Now, when the troops were mobilized and headed over to Valcartier, the militia units that did have the Canadian P08 webbing, everything kind of got thrown in a pile, redistributed for the troops that were heading over in the first contingent over to England, and then ultimately to Europe. Now, the troops that went across had the Ross M1910 Mark III rifle that had a built-in charger guide on top of the bridge. This system still supports that. So the bottom pocket, you can actually take 4 chargers, stack them like this, and they will slide in. And still button up. The top pocket will still take 2 5-round chargers and button up. So it will still hold the same amount of ammunition as the packets or in chargers for a total of 150 rounds. What we have here is the early haversack. In the front, you have 1-inch webbing, and it's actually not sewn right across. There's actually an opening through there. On the back side, you have a 1-inch twig buckle, and that was actually used for this canteen carrier. The earlier ones actually had a tail on them, or longer extension. This actually slides through. Okay. The way this works is you can slide that out, take the loose end, and slide it through. There's go. Use a knife there. Fed back in to this guy here. Cinched up, flipped around, and then you can actually feed it through the twig buckle like so. So it'll be secured like that. Then you can actually mount it on your back. So this way you don't have that canteen on your right hip. It's kind of out of the way of things. The later patterns, the P08 patterns actually omitted the tail and the loop on the haversack and a 1-inch twig with it. According to official documentation, the Canadian P08 sets did not have the P08 frog or the entrenching tool carrier. What it did say was for the scabbard, the loop or the belt loop, for them to be enlarged to 3 inches so it would be allowed to fit over the P08 waist belt. Now, I'm going to assume once they got to Salisbury Plains and they didn't have any entrenching tools, that the British issued the P08 frog, the entrenching tool handle, and the entrenching tool carrier to the troops. Possibly the troops ended up taking the top leather loop and cutting it off and the sliding in the lower half of the scabbard into the frog. The P08 backpack, Canadian or British, they're the same. Same thing with the waist belt and also the braces. They're exactly the same. There's no difference between them. The real big difference is the cartridge carriers, and then using the earlier pattern haversack and canteen holder, with the exemption of a slight modification if in fact they were changed in Salisbury Plain by issuing the entrenching tool handle, entrenching tool, and the carrier by slightly modifying the Ross scabbard by cutting off that 3-inch loop. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same.